Hey, welcome to Clean Radio. I'm Andrew, and I'm with my co-host, infamous co-host, the Judah.
You are, right? Yeah. Is it better to be infamous or famous?
It's better to be notorious in your case.
Yes. Thank you. You know, we went on a date 3 weeks ago, and
Are you still on the date?
Yeah, well,
really? Yeah. It wasn't a date, Judah. I'm going to bring this.
Did you pay?
I did pay, but
Did you ask me to go?
No, actually, you said let's go to a movie, and I said,
Did you
all
pick
right.
the movie?
Yeah, you gave me two choices.
Did you drive me there?
Okay, where are you going with this?
That's a date.
That's not a date, Judah. Wow. Okay, you know it is a date, so pay up.
Okay. That's a whole other
That's a whole
show.
other, yeah, right?
Let's welcome our flagship station, KFWB News Talk 980. Also, let's welcome the people live video streaming at KLEANradio.com. That's clean with a K. And how was your holidays?
It was good. I actually went down to New Orleans, land of alcoholism. But it was actually a great time.
I think that's a very important thing to talk about because we talk to a lot of people out there that are struggling. You know, when people are newly sober, one of the things they're always wondering is how can I go to those
places like New Orleans?
How can I go home? I mean, for you, it's basically home. Your daughter's there.
Your daughter's there, right? Yeah. So it was. You know, it's a tough thing. You're just surrounded by alcohol. So, you just have to, stick to the basics.
What are the helpful hints that you'd give to people?
Make sure you stay close to people that you're with that understand what's going on, and I'm fairly comfortable with it. And the other thing is, I spend time with my daughter. You do things with your daughter. You're not around as much alcohol, so.
I think that's important, though, is because I was back home also, and I got a chance to be, when I'm 13, a little over 13 years sober. My first year of sobriety, I remember the Passover Seder. I left in the middle. I was like, I got to go to a meeting,
right.
And I got to go to a 12-step meeting. And this year, it's amazing, like 13 years later, it's been for many years like this, where I'm able to be a family member.
I do have to say, let me jump in,
Yeah.
that New Orleans was a really tough place for me. I mean, I used to own a building on Bourbon Street, and it's where I did a lot of drinking. And there's a lot of trigger points. So I just avoided those spots. I didn't go back to do the whole tour of my, the parts that I can remember. So, but, it's definitely, but, I actually didn't really consciously think about it as much as I probably should have.
Well, don't you think that has something to do with the years away from it? Like the longer you're away. It's like now I could go through a supermarket, and a lot of times I'll take somebody from clean. We'll be going through the supermarket, and they'll notice the alcohol
and
aisle.
it's right at the entry.
Right. Me, I'm just like walking because it doesn't affect me anymore. I'm not like going.
You're not activated,
right?
So,
and I'm not going to be like. And I think for people out there to understand that this isn't when you being a recovering alcoholic or recovering drug addict isn't about just fighting not doing it anymore. It's so much bigger than that. It's about living this life those aren't the thoughts. It's about your kids, your family, and all of those things.
Well, and also it's where you are just mentally. If you're going through a lot of stress,
Right.
You're obviously more likely to be reactive to maybe seeing alcohol in a supermarket or a liquor store or a drugstore or wherever people get alcohol in the different states. But it's just one of those things you have to be aware of in dealing with the stressors that are going on in your life. So that that isn't your solution.
Right. Definitely not.
Your suicide solution, as Ozzy Osbourne would have said.
What's it called?
Did I just quote Ozzy Osbourne?
You did just quote Ozzy Osbourne, but I like Ozzy, so I'm not going to he's not like your other bands that I've never heard of. But now that I'm getting used to liking,
It's not
okay,
even really well
Catherine
known.
Wheel, and
Throw out the name of the stations we're on.
we're on KFWB News Talk 980. And we're on worldwide. Everybody could listen to us at KLEANradio.com. We also have some amazing news coming up, so I beg of you to listen to the show. Go on our Facebook page because we're about to do amazing things at Clean Radio. And there's a really cool article that Rand, our producer, was showing me that there's this, this really bothers me. I mean, we're constantly driving around in L.A., and all you see on the highways are those Get Thin commercials. I don't want to for lap band, and it's another instant. It's like don't lose weight the healthy way. I know, it's get this band inserted in your belly, and that's how you're going to lose weight. And there's this new thing. It's again one more time they could cure alcoholism. It's an ad out there that's saying we could cure your alcoholism.
Right.
And it's not just cure it, but they're going to put something inside you, and it's a medical procedure, and and it's basically rapid, you're going to be cured.
Well, there's the whole concept of the second brain, which is there's a second type of cell, which is like a neural cell, like a brain cell, but not quite as advanced. And in fact, insects don't have brains. They have what are called ganglia.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually have ganglia too, which are bunches of nerve cells. And there's a lot of them within our abdomen. And they believe now that there's sort of a second brain in humans that drive a lot of our behavior. And one of the interesting things they found out with gastric bypass is when you cut off all the nerve connecting thing, they think that has more to do with the weight loss than the actual shrinking of the stomach. And they've shown that studies with lap band versus gastric bypass, because lap band actually has a high failure rate. People tend to still continue their behavior and overeat, while people actually seem to have more of a change in their brain with gastric bypass. The problem with this procedure that I see right off the top is that even if it decreases your craving for alcohol, which is triggered through the stomach because you're ingesting it through the stomach, I don't know how that's going to help people with process addictions, or, people that are taking drugs through needles or snorting them, or, other ways of ingesting drugs. So
you're basically saying there is no miracle cure.
There's always the potential. First of all, I don't really think that cures generally come from miracles. Cures generally come from science. So
touche.
Yeah, and also I think that the concept of addiction is a broad spread of an umbrella of a multitude of different problems. So some people have a problem with addiction. Some people have a problem with addiction to gambling, which is process addiction. Some people have addiction problems with smoking marijuana. Some people have problems with shooting heroin or cocaine. So you're not going to approach solving all the problems of addiction with one intervention. It's like the vaccine we talked about for cocaine before,
right?
So you're going to get when they start using coke, you're going to give them that, and then when they start drinking, then you're going to give them this other procedure, and then when they start smoking heroin, then what are you going to do?
Just going to be a lot of procedures.
I think that's the end.
That's in the end of the day. It's like if you have enough procedures, you won't even have time.
Well, I think the central problem still has to do with the brain and its reward system, and I think that's something that's really difficult to really cure or fix. Because we actually need to experience pleasure to exist and live a happy life. You can't just reduce dopamine, which is the main chemical in the brain that makes people experience pleasure, and which drugs actually activates without making them depressed. So it's about regulating dopamine to normal levels through normal behavior, and that's what's difficult.
And if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's clean with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Give us a call with any questions you have. We're very lucky to have a great guest in the studio tonight. His name is Paul Casey. He's the director of many television shows. He's also a huge Yankee fan, and he's got one of the coolest shirts on. And if anybody wants to see what this shirt looks like, go to cleanradio.com. We stream live and we video live, and that's a really cool shirt. Welcome to Clean Radio, Paul Casey.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
I didn't realize you guys were dating.
Sorry. Neither did we.
It's
I think it's Judah's fantasy. It comes up every week now, 3 weeks in a row. What do you think? After 2 weeks, I have to take it seriously.
It's not often a handsome gentleman takes me to the movies and buys me popcorn. And
did I buy you popcorn too? That's where I went wrong.
Yeah.
See, if I had skipped on the popcorn,
and soda.
If we got 50-50 on that, definitely would not have been a date. I would have been rejected immediately.
That's definitely true. I wouldn't have put my arm around you.
Oh, God.
And I also want to welcome Paul, who's a Clean alumni.
Yes, I am.
And thank you for coming down here, Paul Casey.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
You're from New York?
I grew up actually in New Jersey, across the bridge.
I'm a little upset now.
I think of myself as a New Yorker because when I had the choice on my own of where I wanted to live, Manhattan was where it was when I got out of college and lived in Manhattan for 11 years. And then shortly after that, moved out to California. That's about 18 years ago. So, yeah, I consider myself a New Yorker and a big Yankee fan.
And a Giant fan.
And a Giant fan, too.
This isn't sports talk radio, but, it is important. Paul's sober now. I talk a lot about on the show that when you first get sober, for me, it was hard, really hard watching sporting events because I would get super emotional. And this is just me. Okay, obviously Paul's looking at me like I'm out of my mind.
Well, and it's also Giant fans tend to be a little nuts.
Yeah.
The big difference for me was I could stay in the room. You know,
Okay.
I could actually stay in the room and sit down and enjoy it, and without, pacing and, like having to leave and, whatever. It was, I was kind of a mess. So, it's been really nice to be able to sit still. That's one of the biggest changes for me, and just today, I spent the day with my 13-year-old daughter sitting on the couch watching the NHL playoffs. We watched Philly and Pittsburgh play, and then we were flipping back and forth between that and the Dodger game, and then the Yankee game came on just before I had to head over here. So it's like I can actually be present and sit and relax and enjoy, whereas when I was out there, it was really hard for me to stay in one place for more than like 2 minutes. So that's a big, huge difference.
Right. Yeah.
So both of you have 13-year-olds, and you both got to spend the day with them. That's pretty cool.
13-year-old daughters. Well,
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, and you were traveling with yours, right?
Yeah, New Orleans.
I just got back. My 13-year-old daughter had her spring break last week, the week before this, and we went back east.
Right.
I have a daughter in college in Massachusetts, and so I went back for that spring break to New York, drove up to Worcester where my daughter goes to school, picked her up, went into Boston for a couple of days, back down to New York, and I saw my whole family for the Easter holidays, and actually was with I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and was with them for all of them together for the first time since I've been sober, and it was really nice. It was really, really
Did they
nice.
know you had a problem?
Oh yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. For probably longer than I thought they would have known too. But
Isn't that funny? Everybody always thinks is when they're using that nobody knows they have a problem.
Yeah. Well, well, how much I heard. I was I've been out in California for a long time, so
Right.
it wasn't as evident to them, but they were there for me when I was really on the skids. So
Did you start having a problem in New York or in California?
I started having a problem when I was about 12.
12, really?
Yeah.
So it's been a lifelong
a
thing.
40-year problem.
A 40-year problem.
that
You're supposed to say 20. You're in LA, right? You're trying to date, right?
well, whatever. Rigorous honesty.
right. That's true. Yeah, Jude, I remember that on our dating thing. Rigorous honesty.
Here you go. But it was I was the quintessential functioning party boy.
Right.
Did well in school. Went to college on an athletic scholarship. And got was working afterwards, and my career was going well. And
That's really cool, by the way. I didn't know that. What was your athletic scholarship for?
It was for track and field,
Okay.
which
Just happy you didn't say polo. But
track and field, but I will be honest about this: is my drinking got in the way of that, and and I didn't really, I took that scholarship for all the wrong reasons. I was excellent in track and field, and but I didn't really enjoy it, and it was one of those things I did to please somebody. And not myself, and I was really unhappy doing that, and it took a lot for me to drop that scholarship and then pursue a sport that I actually enjoyed, which was soccer, and played that for the last 2 years of my college and loved it. So, but that was that's like another example of making decisions for all the wrong reasons, and there's a history of that in my life, and it's one of those things I'm aware of now. So
getting back to your family, were they pleased with your progress? Did they see it? Were there any sort of was some of it negative?
No, none of it's been negative. None of
Really?
it's been negative at all. And 2 of my sisters and one of my brothers were actively involved in in intervention and all that, and then two other brothers and another sister weren't so much, but everyone was aware, and so. It's funny, it was like we grew up in this big Irish Catholic household that was, completely chaotic, 7 kids, and 6 of them were like back to back to back to back to back, and and then 8 years later, the surprise comes. But we were one of those families where we really didn't talk about much.
Right.
It was just a big fat elephant in the room, and it wasn't really talked about. So, and when I moved out to California, I kind of, I got away from everybody. I got away from all my brothers and sisters, and really, drifted from my family. So I'm in contact with them more and more and more, and it was really nice to see everybody. And they're all they're so supportive. Like my sister, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Gina! And
it's my daughter's birthday, actual birthday today too. Tax day.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing like
Cool.
having
Perfect
a daughter
symmetry in the
on
studio.
April 15th.
Yeah. So, but I talk to her just about every day, and that was one of the things when I was actually in treatment, and I felt like, everybody was just relieved that I was somewhere safe,
Right.
And then, it's sort of I felt like I just got dropped off there, kind of, and I was feeling a little sorry for myself and stuff. And at one point I said to her, I need you guys, to be there for me. I need you to talk to me. I need you to know that you're in this with me, and it's important to me. And so the beautiful thing is that we have talked virtually every day since that day. And that's,
Wow.
I'll be a year sober in a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks. So
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Happy
Amazing.
birthday.
yeah. Thank you.
And it's funny, you just mentioned something that it's when people constantly are asking about why go to treatment, and a lot of it's also for the family, because they need time to sleep. It's not just about it's families
and also understand the issues.
Right. But they need to be able to get out of the situation themselves, so they could get help for themselves, and and there's work that can be done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a great gift when you went to treatment. Your family was able to relax for a night.
Yeah, well, so was I too.
Right.
I mean, the intervention that was set up, I refer to as the Jerry Maguire of interventions.
We had him on.
They had me at hello.
We
We had Jerry Maguire.
we had
Is that right?
Steinberg in here.
Is that right?
Just a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they had me at hello, so I was like, it was like a relief to me. It's
Right.
like, finally my secret is out. And it was,
Yeah.
I was just so, as the cliche, sick and tired of being sick and tired, and was relieved that I didn't have this horrible, burdenous secret anymore, and that
Even though it really wasn't a secret.
well, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I was glad
There was denial, which
right.
is almost the same. Right?
Yeah. But it was a great relief to me that that I could get help, because I wanted it. It was like one of those things. I really wanted it, and I just couldn't do it myself. So
what's it like working in Hollywood? I mean, you're pretty well respected director. I think that's putting it mildly in Hollywood here on some big shows who I won't mention, but you're well respected. And what's it like being in Hollywood and having to now deal with addiction when there's quite a lot of drug use and alcoholism in the industry?
Well, luckily, I'm not the first director to crash and burn on drugs and alcohol in Hollywood.
Right.
So,
There is precedent for it, right?
yeah. So there's been a lot of understanding in
That's
the
cool.
professional community.
That's great.
I am incredibly grateful to my bosses. When because it was like I was functioning.
Right.
But. It's like I really jeopardized. I jeopardized, my job and their show,
Right.
at a certain point. And, when I fessed up to that, and when I went in and told them I was getting help for the problem I had, they stood by me. And, it was like, it's how do you gain somebody's trust back, by showing up, suiting up, showing up, being there, being consistent. And, it was early in the...
And you got help in the middle of a season, right?
It was in the very beginning of the season of a
beginning of
new
the
show
season.
I just started. So,
Wow.
they, there was a couple of people in recovery on who work on the show, and so it's not like they had the people who run the show hadn't gone through this before, but it was basically. Well, let's see what you can do. Let's see if you really, if you really mean this. And that was, I was just so grateful to them. They stood by me, and and I turned things around. I really did turn things around. And God, it's so different. being sober.
Well, that's something I want to touch on in a second. By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Give us a call. We're in the studio tonight with television director Paul Casey. And you just mentioned the word I think is very interesting, which is functioning. You hear that a lot. You know, you were a functioning alcoholic, you're a functioning drug addict. And now it's like, how hard was it to function? You know, it's like we use that word and you hear people saying that all the time. Oh, I was functioning. But what exactly does that mean? You know, like were you were just going to your job, but how is the rest of your life going?
Oh, the rest of my life was a mess. You know, there were certain things that I had to that were important to me. Responsibilities that I fulfill, and I did, to the best of my ability. I was, single dad, and have 3 kids, and so
I met one of them, a great kid.
Yeah, so I kind of worked around. that. That was really, really important to me, my kids, and obviously my job, my livelihood, and so how much effort you put into working around those responsibilities and those commitments. And
I think that's something that most people don't realize, is that a lot of people that have a problem with addiction are actually incredibly functional. They're even though they could be so much more healthy and so much more functional, but they can actually manage to stay functional for quite a while before they get help.
Yeah, and that was the case for me. But I'm telling you, in the last couple of months before I did finally,
crash and burn.
Things were. I was holding on by a thread. I really was. Yeah. And my older kids saw it, and certainly other people who were close to me saw it. One of the guys who I work with, who's in the program, when I took him aside, and I knew that he was, and I took him aside when I went into treatment, and he said, "Well, we've been waiting for you," So,
so they knew.
Yeah, but it's a huge effort. And I was so tired all the time. I was really, really tired. And
it is a lot of work getting high.
It's a lot of work, and especially when you it's like, okay, now I finally got the kids to bed, and I can get my relief, and you end up, it's just I was tired all the time, sleeping whenever I could, and crashed all the time, burnt out. It was just man, it was just it was a horrible way to live when I look back on it, but it was like, that's all I knew, It just got to this place where it's like, how the hell did I get here? I have no idea.
I hear so much, like, it's like, oh, I'll just put the cocaine in the drawer, and I'll just do that one little line, that's it, I'll put it in the drawer, and then 2 seconds later, for some reason, you're doing another line, you don't even know how you're doing it. It just keeps going.
It's all
and the
of
promises we make to I remember I used to constantly, every night I would go out and I would always leave my driver's license home and my money home, most of my money and my car keys, because I didn't, at the end of the night I was always in my car driving drunk, and I'm not laughing, it was very because I could have killed somebody, but everything I wanted to not do at the end of the night, I was doing it. I was always broke, probably lost my driver's license.
This is why you actually can't go to a bar in Brooklyn, is because he's got a tab at every bar in Brooklyn.
Yes, I do come from the days where they did have tabs, and thank God most of those bars are shut down. And but I mean, that's the thing about addiction. It doesn't, to people that are listening out there, when addicts say things, they actually mean it. Like when an addict says to you, I never want to drink again, or I love you, or they really mean it. But it's once they start, they just can't. It's something happens, that phenomenon of craving that we talk about, that they mean what they say. Yeah. When an alcoholic says to his kid, I'm going to spend time with you tomorrow, but he drinks the night before and he never spends time with you, he really meant it when he said it.
Or wanted it.
And
had all the intention, but couldn't control their behavior.
Right. And that's the bizarro, fascinating thing about addiction.
It's also sort of the tricky thing where you start off when you can drink and you can control it and you can show up, and then all of a sudden time passes and then all of a sudden you can't, and you as the addict don't realize that you've actually lost that much control, or you don't want to admit that you've lost that much control, and you think you can somehow get back to where you can control it again.
Yeah, that's the the cat chasing its tail.
Yeah.
And the not admitting it. Just being in denial of it.
And I love what you mentioned about that day where they walked in and you had that Jerry Maguire moment where they they had you at hello.
Yeah.
There's a certain peace and tranquility when you're done. When people have basically come into your house. I love the song, I think we're probably running out of time for this segment, but Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel, where he pack my things, I'm ready to go is basically what he's saying to the people that are coming for him. And there's a certain tranquility that you had that day where you were just like, take me.
Yeah, I was pack my bags before I changed my mind, please.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything at all about recovery. And, it's like I look back on that day as probably one of the most important days in my entire life. And that decision that I made and the fact that I've been able to stay clean and sober for, almost 2 years, almost 1 year too. Look at me. Look at me.
Hey, you know what?
We're going out to break. So, Judah, why didn't you give out the number one more time? Paul's a fascinating guest. I'm sure somebody's out there who's got some questions. Or if they have a problem themselves with drugs and alcohol or with a family member and they'd like to talk about it, we'd love to hear your story. And possibly get you help if you need it.
The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. You're listening to Clean, not Cream.
Yeah, we're
Clean
turning
Radio.
into another kind of site.
Clean Radio. Oh my God! And you're listening to Clean Radio Live. Find us on Facebook at Clean Radio. That's Clean with a K.
That's another Judaism, by the way. We got to make sure we capture.
Please
that
don't. And thank you. You're a kind soul. You always know how to make me feel so good.
It's my job.
And I hope we're able to make people out there smile, too, on this Sunday night. And
Exactly.
the discussion continues at cleanradio.com.
Absolutely.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.
Hey, welcome back to. See, I did it one more time. Back. See,
There was like a Get Smart episode,
and
there was a Get Smart episode when we were younger. It was one of my favorite shows of all time, and where like she was starting to get like Maxwell, where she,
Right.
and that was a concern of the chief. But anyways, yes, welcome back to Clean Radio.
Clean Radio. You can reach us at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. And we're here with Paul Casey, famous TV director who is recovered from alcoholism, and drug addiction, and just about to celebrate a year of recovery.
Awesome. 2 weeks away.
Fantastic. And we were having a great conversation before, but we've got some calls lining up, so I'm going to jump into a call.
Awesome.
Okay, so we've got Rhonda from Sherman Oaks.
Help
Rhonda,
me.
welcome to
Hold on.
Clean Radio.
Thank you for taking my call. I have a 24-year-old son who has an alcohol problem, who refuses to believe he has an alcohol problem, and I don't know how to help.
Okay. Why do you say he has an alcohol problem? What's he been doing? What's been going on?
Well, what I can see is he's binging. His father had the same issue, and it grew into drugs and alcohol. It started with the alcohol. And he's drinking probably 2-3 times a week, sometimes starting early in the morning. Can't keep a job. Absolutely believes everybody in the world is against him, including God.
That sounds like alcoholism.
I think he qualifies.
Yeah.
Judah laughing, but it's just because of the irony that, and I can understand, that it's a painful situation for yourself and your son, but what we're laughing about is that it's hard for us to recognize, or hard for, I think, people that aren't alcoholics to recognize that the alcoholic really is sort of self-obsessed with their drinking and doesn't really see the damage that they're doing to the family members around them until they get sober.
I also identify a lot.
And that's what I'm saying. So
is right when I was it was like I was that 22-year-old kid that, I couldn't hold a job, drinking like that, blamed God, blamed everybody for everything.
So let's ask you, Judah, what was it that really broke through to you? I mean,
You want to know, Rhonda? My parents getting help and I mean that from my mom and dad. And I always joke about this when I speak at meetings, and I always used to say, thank God my parents found Al-Anon, because they stopped believing that meetings cost $10 a week to go to. And because I had convinced my parents that AA cost money. and this time when I was getting sober, they didn't believe that anymore. All they gave me was like $1.50 for a token to get to Manhattan. And they had started to get help for themselves. And those things that I was able to do to them, like holding them hostage, stopped working. And that's why a big thing that we recommend is for the family to get help.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important for you to understand exactly what alcoholism is and how alcoholics behave and how they manipulate people around them. Not necessarily purposefully to hurt you, but to be able to continue in their own addiction and their use of alcohol. It becomes that important to them that they sort of lose sight as to, what they're doing and what they're saying and how they're affecting the people around them.
What does he say to you when you say to him he has a problem?
Oh, that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That he doesn't have to. He just likes to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else in the world drinks. What's the problem? I'm an adult. I'm over 21. It's your problem.
Where does he live?
My house.
Okay. Where does he get money?
He will work for a couple of days doing telemarketing or whatever it takes to make a couple of bucks, and then he ends up losing the job.
Right. Well, Andrew and I are very against tough love. We're not the people you're going to call and we're going to say, kick your kid out, because we believe things like that only get worse. But what we do suggest a lot of times is raising the
bottom
right.
of like expectations that make it harder for him to get by, but don't give
right.
up on the concept that you love him. I think that one of the, and I think you heard, maybe if you were listening earlier to Paul, it was finally, he had an intervention from family members and he finally felt some relief, and he obviously Paul's a little bit older than a 24-year-old.
Just a little.
Yeah. But so sometimes it takes a little while, but there are limits that you can set that are perfectly reasonable. So you don't want to just be, you're an alcoholic or you have a problem with alcohol. I'm just going to kick you out on the street and I don't love you or I love you, but I'm going to love you by making your life as impossible to deal with as ever. What you want to do is, in my opinion, is to try and make it harder for him to drink and not take responsibility for the consequences of his drinking. So, for example, if drinking has him lose a job, then there should be some sort of consequence for that. And, if he's living at your house, you should be paying rent. He's 24 years old. So there's one thing where you could say, hey, you know what? I love you. I want you to live here for as long as you need to, but you're going to have to be responsible and pay some rent. And that means keeping a job. So, there's one consequence. And if you can't, then you're going to have to start looking for somewhere else to live. And if you can't find a place within, 4 weeks, then we're going to have another discussion about what you're going to do. But you really need to do this in partnership with a counselor who can help you, because one of the things that's really, really effective is doing what we call contracting, where you actually work with your son, with a therapist, and you come up with a set of rules. And you contract, you both talk about what your needs are and what his needs are, how you feel about it, how he feels about it. And then you make a contract together about what the expectations are for him to do to stay living with you in your house. And then if he doesn't break that, if he breaks the contract, then there's consequences.
Yeah, we wrote out a contract when he first moved in 2.5 years ago.
And how is that? How have you kept your part of the contract?
Not yet.
You see, that's the thing.
That's the enabling part.
Rhonda, we
right.
really listen. I mean, one of the big reasons, and my mother and my father used to say, as long as my son's alive, there's a chance. And I put my parents through the ringer. All of us in here put our family through the ringer. So we totally get what you're going through. But now it's time for you to get help for yourself, because you shouldn't have to do this by yourself. And I can't implore upon you that more. Give us a call. We have tons of resources.
Okay.
Absolutely. We have a lot of outpatient therapists we work with, as well as people at KLEAN. The number there, and if I'll give you back to the producer so that they can give you the number, but I'll just give it out as well. It's 601-6040. And you can actually call our treatment advisors. They're on the phone all the time.
And we'll totally, it's all free, we'll totally, talk to you for free and all that stuff. So I don't want you to think, but please, you shouldn't have to, and this is, Ron, it's important for everybody out there listening. You don't have to do this by yourself.
Okay.
And there's hope. Yeah. There's a lot of hope.
There's a lot. You're talking to 3 people that are hopeful, that have gotten the hope.
Well, thank you for calling, Rhonda. I really appreciate it.
And if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with an amazing talent. His name is Paul Casey. He's a television director.
It's tough for me to hear those calls because it's like a 24-year-old kid, and I remember being 24, and I didn't care what anybody said.
Yeah,
and, right? And you were talking about, losing a lot of things early on, even though you didn't have alcoholism or drug addiction to the degree that you ended up having it before you finally quit. Clearly, if there was better ways to sort of notice what was going on and intervene earlier, you probably could have saved yourself a lot of problems.
I was sharing it at a meeting that, I was this close, this close when, at 22, at 28, at 30, at 35, and I don't know, why it didn't get the way it finally did. That realize that where I realized that okay, this is out of control for me.
Right.
I've lost all control of this, and but it could have happened at any of those moments. It was close enough, But I also understand the how hard it must be, because I know where my head was at when I was 24. Exactly the 3 things that Rhonda said. What he said. It's not your problem, it's mine, or whatever. I can deal with it.
Right. Everybody does it.
Everybody, it's all of that. That was like I wasn't going to be listening to anybody.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because my heart goes out to Rhonda, and I'm sure yours does too. But it's like I know what I did to my mother.
And yet, we look at it at Clean, we have so many kids coming in younger and younger, and I say kids, but they're really young adults that are coming in younger and younger and actually successfully becoming sober.
Yeah.
A lot of that is also because kids are getting into other drugs other than alcohol.
Right.
The traditional period that it took from someone drinking alcohol to where they actually became sort of an alcoholic was like 35 years of drinking. 20 to 35 years of drinking, and now we have things like meth and cocaine and whatever. Not that those didn't exist before, but they entered into the popular culture, and prescription pills especially now.
Yeah.
And that's making adolescents and young adults actually have to enter treatment quicker, because it's just amazing. These kids are coming in on just huge numbers of.
I've never even heard of half this stuff.
I mean, they're on. Yeah, I mean, they know every kind of opiate by the pharmaceutical name that.
They're like the pill Bibles,
right? It's just unbelievable.
When I checked into Clean, I mean, I would sit around like befuddled by some of the names of these things. What the hell's
Right.
I didn't even know what a benzo was.
Right.
Right.
It's
like
I'm this. It's
tranquilizer.
The longer and longer
right.
I stay sober. I mean, I remember being in meetings and hear people saying they're smoking glass. And I was like, what are you, smoking bulbs? I had no idea. And
I got a bunch of questions for Paul. We're lining up with calls, so I want to take another one. We got Tony from Carlsbad. Tony, welcome to Clean Radio.
Hi.
Hey, Tony.
How's it going tonight?
Great. I have a brother that's had alcoholism for a very long time. I was just wondering if there's any help to try to pull him out of that. I just heard you guys talking, actually trying to go to sleep. I get up early in the morning, but I just thought maybe give you a call to see if, I don't know, maybe a DVD, a book, a pamphlet, or something.
Yeah, there's actually lots of ways you can get help. If you go to cleancenter.com, it's with a K, KLEAN center.com.
Okay.
We have tons of information on our webpage about every kind of drug addiction or type of alcoholism.
And places to go for
Places
help.
to go, and we also have free treatment advisors, so you can call at any time and get help. And we can help work with your brother or help work with you, and if we can't help you, we can find someone that can.
Yeah, these guys sound like you're really conscientious about the issue, and I just thought maybe I could send something along to my brother. So I'll look at the website.
Yeah, and listen, give us a call, even if it's just, like you're calling now to chat. We know what you're going through. We know that this is one of the hardest things when you have to deal with a family member. Paul, I know you went through this year, and I don't, with somebody, with friends or with what, and it's hard for us.
Yeah.
Because
it's not debilitating. I mean, he's just not spaced out, but I know it's an issue, and I just think his life would be so much better, and if he didn't have this problem, and eventually it's going to get him.
Right.
Yeah, and the damage is cumulative. People don't realize that
that's right.
even if they stop, now after 25 years, he's already got some pretty significant health damages that even stopping, the consequences are going to keep coming. So, the sooner you can get somebody help, the better. And that's why I get encouraged, like people, Rhonda with their 24-year-old son, calling and trying to get help now, because you can limit a lot of potential damage. Tony, I'm going to put you on hold, and we're going to get our producer to actually give you some help, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, appreciate that. So, Paul, I just want to switch direction real quickly because we've been talking about, you're Hollywood director of TV shows, and we see so much now on TV, all these reality shows, and you got Celebrity Rehab, and you got
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore, right?
The Shahs of Sunset.
What's sort of your thoughts about Celebrity Rehab versus your experience of actually going to rehab?
That's if you're assuming Paul has watched Celebrity Rehab. Have you?
Well, I tell you what, my kids watch all of those reality shows, and they make me crazy. I really, because
Right.
I know what's happening on the other side of the cameras, and so, how much of it is actually reality, and how much of it is, produced and encouraged, it's whatever, it's television, but, yeah, when I went in, after I got out of recovery, I would watch those, and I think that my kids kind of tuned into them. They were interested. My kids came to visit me. My family came to visit me. They were incredibly supportive, and we were, completely open about it. But I think there became a fascination for them a little bit about it, and so we could, and I would sit and talk to them about like, this is out of control. I don't know whether this would really happen, or whether it would be allowed to, or, it's certainly not like that where I am. There's certainly, you're in a group environment, and people are trying to, deal with problems that got them there. And so there's a lot of, emotion. There's a lot of rawness. There's a lot of discovery. There's a lot of uncovering, all of that stuff. So, there are days that were, just emotionally wrenching,
Right.
and you're going from, you're doing, 3 or 4 process groups, and doing, maybe an individual session somewhere in between all of that, and then going out to a meeting, and, but, there was, as much drama in, 30 days in a treatment facility that I saw as there was in, like 2 segments of, one of those shows. So,
it's so funny, though, that you asked that question, because for me, I remember I got sober before reality television.
Right.
So people used to say to me, the biggest question was, they would say, how accurate is when a man loves a woman? And like how
the movie,
accurate,
right?
Right. And now it's like we have all these shows that sort of have brought these things into the spotlight. But do you think that's helpful? Do you think it's helpful that we've changed our vocabulary, that people out there do know what rehab is?
I think rehab is just one of these. First of all, I think there's a lot of different types of rehab, and that's part of the problem. Is I don't think people really understand the full spectrum of types of treatment, what we call the continuum of care. So anything from seeing somebody as an outpatient therapist, to going to an intensive outpatient day program, to being in a rehab, to being into a medical detox, to being in the hospital because your liver's failing.
right.
So there's this whole continuum of care that exists in getting better within the medical establishment. Rehab is just one part. Inpatient rehab is just one part of that continuum of care. I think it's important that people are starting to understand more about that, but also the industry itself is changing, and healthcare is changing, and there's new things happening all the time, and there's a lot of different views about how people should get treated. For example, KLEAN is very medically based. Like we had a lot of doctors coming in, we have psychiatrists and whatever, and there's a lot of treatment centers that don't believe in that. They only believe that the only way people get better is spiritually, or through the 12 steps alone.
And we encourage that.
Right. Well, we think that's a component,
Yeah, right.
That there's a social model for getting better and a spiritual model, but that should be complemented by making sure that underneath that, everything is taken care of from a medical perspective.
Which is amazing, because in the beginning of the show with this article, their whole treatment method is what
purely
we want.
medical.
Right.
Oh, that's the
we're gonna
that's the
cut your
20-minute
yeah,
cure.
We're going to cut your stomach, and you're not going to drink anymore.
By the way, a
Yeah.
fan of the show has a few questions for Paul,
Yeah.
and they want to know this. They want to know, what does he do daily to stay sober?
Daily to stay sober. Well, that's pretty simple. I start every morning with a meeting, and that's been the biggest change for me. I knew that my living habits were out of control. And we were talking about before. When I was in the throes of my disease, I was an isolator. I really did, I did my damage to myself by myself. And a lot of that was, late at night. And, so I needed to, here's one of the luxuries of what I do for a living is I don't have to go to work all the time. And so, I have a very, nice schedule. Let's just put it this way. Some weeks I go to work twice a week, and no matter what kind of show I was working on, it's you're never there 5 days a week, really. So and when you're there, it's intense, but there's a lot of downtime, and there's danger to that. So what I wanted to do was to make sure that I started each one of my days purposefully, and so that starts with a meeting, and how I've been able to do that is to take commitments at them. And I'm up and out of bed, around 5:30, 6 a.m. every day.
You're a better man than me.
Yeah, you're like on New York time.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. It's made a huge difference. And so for me, that's number one.
Right.
That's number one. I go to meetings and I start my day that way. And I know towards the end of my day that I'm going to have to get my ass out of bed in the morning to go to a meeting, and so it's like I'm just my living, sleeping, patterns are so much better. I'm in.
You actually have patterns.
I do.
Right.
I do. Before I was like
patterns have been created.
Well, they're not abstract patterns.
Yeah, exactly. I was a Jackson Pollock painting before. Those were my patterns.
Right, there was some sense to it, but you never quite figure it out.
Exactly.
And our fan has one more question. They said, have your friends changed now that you're sober?
I don't know. I've changed. I've changed a lot.
Yeah.
And I would I would hope that people would say for the better. And I don't know whether I'd have to say no. I'd have to say no.
Well, it sounds like a lot of your addiction was, like you said, you were isolating.
Yeah,
doing it late at night by yourself.
In the end,
you had kids, so you weren't really out partying with a bunch of rock stars in the Hollywood Hills.
No, and I was never that guy anyway. I was never that guy. I was a little league coach. And I one of the greatest joys of my life was my kids. I had a lot of other things that I let make me miserable, and so I was not that go out and go crazy and be a Hollywood kind of guy at all. I was a little league coach in Pasadena and stuff. I coached soccer and I did all that stuff. So I got all that stuff out of the way, and would put the kids down and
live your second life.
It's almost right. It's almost like, you had to work so hard to live many lives.
Exactly. And I dealt with that ugly beast, when everyone was asleep. And, boy, that's tiring. But,
it's so interesting because so many addicts are looking for relief at that time, and really sleep would be the best relief, right?
Right.
But that's the last thing an addict wants to do because they want to think that there's a better feeling than sleep.
Yeah.
Well, it's medicine. It's until you get what you need treated.
Yeah,
it's medicine.
You're chasing, trying to feel normal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And by the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. It's also, you can find a lot of our past episodes at cleanradio.com, Clean with a K. You could look up the episode with Lee Steinberg, who we were talking about earlier. Was one of my, you obviously, Paul's now going to be one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite 54. And Lee was on, and I mean, I know you're a big fan of Lee Steinberg or Jerry Maguire at least.
We actually got someone on the line. Let's jump on a call. I had to interrupt you, Paul, but we got Kevin. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Welcome to Clean Radio.
Is that me?
This is you, Kevin.
Cool. My real name's Kyle. I think she's
Kyle. Okay. Sorry about that.
No, but you guys are doing a great job. I do need to get back into the rooms. I was listening to the gentleman talk about his kid who went to sleep. The beast came. It's just like my story, and I just think you guys are doing a great job, and you're going to help me get back to where I got to go.
Well, what are you going to do about getting back?
That's the question. You know, I keep talking and talking and talking, but I haven't made any steps. I haven't taken any steps, so I don't know.
You made your first step tonight.
I agree. I agree, and I know this is not enough, but I believe that if it doesn't get me there tomorrow, it'll stick in my brain.
Well, you know what, Kevin? Why don't we stick you on hold, and we'll make sure someone gives you a call tomorrow to remind you. How about that?
Okay.
All right?
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hey, Kevin.
And remember, I think this is the greatest gift that you could give your children. Really.
Yeah, let's jump. We got another call. We got a bunch of calls. I want to try and get them in here. Kay from San Diego. How are you doing, Kay?
Oh, I'm doing fine. My question is, first of all, I have a daughter that's 37 and lives in Los Angeles, and she knows she has a drinking problem. It's not, it hadn't gotten real bad, but she knows she has a problem because when she goes out, she can't just have a few drinks.
Right.
She's had some blackouts and what have you. But my problem is, and both of my parents were alcoholics, so it's kind of, we have it in a genetic background. So my question is, I've tried to get help for her, but it's so expensive. She doesn't have $50,000 to go to rehab. It's so expensive.
Well, first of all, not all rehab is $50,000. There has been.
I called the KLEAN, the number, someone in Long Beach, Washington, and they were telling me how much it cost, and they said, well, they do have scholarships for $10,000, but she doesn't have $10,000.
Even that's a lot of money. We're going to tell you what, okay, because we're really running out of time. We're going to give you a call after the show. We're going to try to figure out a way to scholarship your daughter or to find her a place where she could get the help that she needs. And you don't have to worry about what you're worrying about.
The other thing is, Kay, the reason she reached Long Beach is we're just opening up another 50 beds. We have 23 in West Hollywood, and we're full. So that's been one problem for us. The other thing is so we have 50 beds that are coming online in about 6 weeks or so.
She couldn't afford it anyway. She said she's gone to AA, but she says everybody's so old there and they drink coffee and smoke.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what, Kay, your daughter, I can tell you I'm 22. I'm 22. I'm 35, but I got sober when I was 22. And a lot of people are my age, and most of the people in LA are. We're running out of time.
Yeah,
Kay,
we got to go.
We're going to call you back.
Stay on hold.
Yeah, please stay on hold because I want to talk to you.
Quickly,
Let's thank our guest, Paul Casey. He's an amazing television director. Thank you so much for coming.
I can't believe we're out of time already. Yeah. Thanks, Paul, for coming in.
It's been a pleasure.
You've been one of the 55 best. And Paul Casey.
It's been Clean Radio, and we will see you next week.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.